Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast blood.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day. We're going to talk about our ego. Everybody got one? Okay, we're going to talk about ego, how it can get in your way at times to do some things great. And so ego, we're going to talk about evading growth opportunities. If your ego gets in the way, you start evading growth opportunities, places that you could have grown, we're avoiding because of our ego. What if the one thing standing between you and your next level of success is something that you're carrying with you every single day? Are you letting your ego hold you back from becoming the best version of yourself? Are you letting your ego hold you back from becoming the best version, the best person that you could possibly be? Ego is the part of you that wants to be right all the time. The ego in you is the part that wants to be recognized all the time and to be praised all the time. And who don't want to be right? Who don't want to be recognized? Who don't want to be praised, right? We get it. But that's also the part that could hold you back, that resists change and rejects feedback from other people. You know, I think it's difficult to coach people that have too big of an ego because they don't listen. Right? And the scariest thing is when they don't listen and they have success. Because at a certain period, that only takes you so far, natural, whatever you got in you, and then you got to find a way to be coachable and humble yourself to go to the next level. So if you get your ego in your way, you'll only look to other people and look at other people and circumstances with blame. I think that was Jocko Willink. If nobody knows who that is, he's a popular Navy SEAL veteran, motivational speaker who had a lot of hands-on experience, you know, in the SEALs. And he said, if your ego gets in your way, you're only going to look to other people and circumstances to blame. You're going to look at outside people and blame why things didn't go right. You're going to blame circumstances as to why things didn't go right. And doesn't that sound like the definition of excuses? And we've talked about excuses, right? Excuses and success don't go together. So if we're going to be successful, we got to leave excuses. If we're going to have excuses, we got to forget about being successful. And so when you point the finger at other people and you point the finger at circumstances all the time, and you don't take ownership of yourself, you're lacking opportunities to grow. But people with an ego, they struggle at looking at themselves to blame themselves and looking at where they have to grow. It's everybody else has to grow. Ego isn't inherently bad. I think you need some levels of ego. But when it's left unchecked, it becomes a barrier to growth. So it's 51-49 is what we try to explain with ego, is that 51% humility, 49% confidence, arrogance. You know what I mean? It's like not arrogance, but confidence and a little bit of ego. Like, I want to win. I'm competitive. I want to be recognized, but I'm humble more than my ego doesn't own the percentage. The ego isn't what I'm feeding more. It's the humility, but I need a little bit of that to want to win, right? And so we mentioned in the ego piece that can be successful, like the part of the ego that's healthy, is just really the difference between confidence and arrogance. Hungry and arrogant, right? So confidence is, I believe in myself. I'm not backing down from a challenge. I know that I can learn as much as somebody else can learn. I just got to put in the time. Maybe I'm not there yet. I'm confident, but I'm humble enough to show respect to other people. Arrogance is just always trying to flaunt how you're better than somebody else, can't listen to nobody else. Nobody could tell you nothing if it's not positive about yourself, just vain, you know, completely. And that's the stuff that can get dangerous. Confidence fuels growth, and too much ego is what's going to give you the opposite. It's going to block the growth. Ego, people that got too much ego, they ignore constructive criticism. Things that maybe they could do different or they could do better. They got this know-it-all mindset. Can't tell me nothing. You know what I mean? So if you got somebody, you know what I'm talking about. You just can't tell them nothing. They don't want to listen. They don't take no constructive criticism from anybody. Ego is based in fear of failure or failure to look strong. You know, they refuse to be vulnerable or to look vulnerable, you know, too much. But I think failure and vulnerability is where the growth happens. That's where you learn. That's where you grow. So the ego issue keeps people stuck. Ego is too attached to your current image of yourself and image of success and avoids risks and stays comfortable. Ego pushes away people that can help you and that can teach you because you don't want to have any vulnerability and you always got to be right. So true growth is going to require humility and self-awareness, looking at yourself and saying, where can I get better? Checking your ego, to me, is the first step to unlocking that level of potential of, I can learn. I'm 41. I can learn from somebody that's 21. I'm whatever people call themselves, alpha male, strong-minded, whatever, but I can learn from a woman. It's almost like, being strong enough to be humble, being strong enough to be vulnerable, being strong, because it takes strength to do those things. And so to grow, you got to let go of the need to want to be right. I tell people sometimes, you could be right or you could win. Which one? Some people want to be right more than they want to win. Like they could get something accomplished over here if they just would give up the need to be right and to argue about stuff and to feel like they're right. They could win over here, but they can't get the win because they'd rather argue about being right. They rather focus on who's right or wrong versus just, here's the result that I want to get. Let's go do that. And so we got to let go of the need to always be right. The ego, there was a quote, what was a quote by The Rock? Said, the ego can be the great success inhibitor. It can kill opportunities and it can kill success. Ego could be the great success inhibitor. It can kill opportunities and it can kill success. Okay, The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And so we don't want to kill our opportunities. We want to grow our opportunities. We don't want to kill success. We want to kill our ego. And so the more you can kill your ego, the easier it's going to be for you to have the right levels of success. All right? And remember, leadership sometimes is disappointing people at a rate that they could stand. And so your growth is going to move faster if you could open yourself up to the opportunity to have somebody be able to pour into you and tell you things that sometimes are good, sometimes it maybe challenges, you a little bit. But over time, and again, listen, hear me out. It's not that I'm saying don't walk in confident. Don't walk in strong. I think to compete and win at sports or it's business, you got to walk in with your chest out and confident and believing you're going to win and believing that you're great and speaking greatness into yourself. And you got to do that to win. So I'm not saying lack confidence. I'm not saying be weak. I'm just saying be wise enough to not let your ego get ahead of you to where nobody can coach you, nobody can say nothing. You don't look at yourself in the mirror and say, what are the things about me that can get better? They say every time you point a finger, you got 3 fingers pointing back. Are you able to look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, all right, you know what? I could do that. I could do better at that. I could grow over here. Maybe she was right. Maybe he was right. Maybe I need to think about that a little bit. Being open to criticism from the right people, not from everybody. We don't want to hear the opinions of everybody, but from people that got decent hearts and they've accomplished something if your ego's too big to listen, that can inhibit your growth. All right. So let's just make sure this week our ego's not getting in our way of going to where we want to be. Let's remember we don't need to be right as much as we just need to win. And you're going to be presented opportunities to win this week versus being right. And knowing sometimes I'm right. I don't want to. Sometimes to win and get what you want, you got to forgive. I forgive you. I forgive people. I forgive this person. I let that stuff go. I'm not going to carry this stuff with me. Well, but I know I'm right. I'm not going to do that because I'm right. They're wrong. It's like, depending on what you're trying to do, a lot of times that's like, it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about what's the goal. How do we make the team better? How do we push the team forward? How do we accomplish the goal? And it's going to be tough to do that if your ego's in the way. All right. So just remember, ego, evading growth opportunities. We ain't got time to be evading and leaving no growth opportunities on the table. All right. So I just as always, if this helps anybody, share it with somebody. And you guys know how much we appreciate you spending some time with us here in the GRINDcast studios again today. So as always, thanks for joining us on another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day.